The Enterprise E cut through the void like a blade through silk, her nacelles pulsing with controlled power as she maintained standard survey speed. Captain Jean-Luc Picard stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, watching the main view screen display an anomaly that had appeared 3 hours ago on long-range sensors. "Report, Mr. Data." The android's fingers danced across his console. "The anomaly is generating a subspace variance of 47.3 terawatts, Captain, unlike anything in our database. The energy signature suggests a dimensional rift, but the quantum mechanics are inconsistent with known wormhole phenomena." "Fascinating." Picard stepped closer to the view screen. The anomaly twisted and writhed like a living thing, purple and gold energies cascading across an invisible surface. "Maintain distance. Continue scans." "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Worf rumbled from tactical, "I recommend we—" The anomaly pulsed, expanded, reached out. Evasive maneuvers. Picard grabbed his chair as the Enterprise lurched sideways, but it was too late. Tendrils of energy wrapped around the ship's hull, pulling them forward despite the engines screaming at full reverse. "We are being drawn in," Data announced with characteristic calm. Structural integrity holding at 93%. The view screen went white, then black, then exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors that shouldn't exist. Picard felt his stomach twist as reality bent around them. For 3 seconds that felt like 3 hours, the Enterprise E existed everywhere and nowhere. Then they were through. "Status report." Picard pulled himself upright as the ship stabilized. "All systems nominal," Data reported. "Minor power fluctuations in the EPS grid, but nothing critical. However, Captain, our position has changed dramatically." "Elaborate." "We are no longer in Federation space. In fact, stellar cartography shows no recognizable star patterns. We appear to be in an entirely different galaxy." Silence on the bridge. Even Worf looked momentarily stunned. Picard straightened his uniform. "Helm, full stop. Science stations, begin comprehensive scans of our surroundings. We need to determine exactly where we are and how to get back." "Captain," Counselor Troi said from her seat, "I'm sensing something. Life signs. Hundreds of them. Close by. On screen." The view screen shifted to show a planet below them, arid, rocky, with scattered settlements. And between the Enterprise and that planet hung something that made even Picard's breath catch. A wedge-shaped warship, nearly 2 kilometers long. Gray-white hull covered in weapon emplacements. A massive superstructure rising from the rear like a tower of industrial brutality. It dwarfed anything in Starfleet's arsenal. "Vessel ahead is powering weapons," Worf announced, tension in his voice. "Hail them, Lieutenant, all frequencies." The communications panel chirped. A harsh mechanical voice filled the bridge, speaking in a language that sounded like German mixed with industrial grinding. "Universal translator working," Data said. The voice resolved into comprehensible words mid-sentence. "Identification codes immediately. You are in violation of Imperial space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." Picard stepped forward. "This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. We mean no harm. We were pulled through an anomaly and your vessel does not match any known configuration. Surrender now or be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to comply." Worf growled. "Captain, their weapons are hot. Multiple turbolaser batteries targeting our position." Picard's jaw tightened. The Prime Directive flickered through his mind, but they were light years beyond Federation space in an unknown galaxy. "Mr. Worf, shields up. Tactical analysis of that vessel. Shields at maximum. Analyzing." Worf's console beeped rapidly. Their weapons appear to be energy-based, similar to plasma torpedoes, but with significantly higher yield. However, their shielding technology reads as primitive ray shielding focused against energy weapons, minimal deflector capability. 10 seconds. The Imperial voice declared. "Prepare to be boarded." "Captain," Commander Riker said from his position beside Picard, "we don't know what we're dealing with here." "I'm aware, Number 1. Picard's eyes never left the screen. "But I will not fire the first shot." The Star Destroyer opened fire. Green lances of energy screamed across space, hundreds of turbo-laser bolts converging on the Enterprise's position. The ship rocked as the impacts hit shields designed to withstand quantum torpedoes and Borg-cutting beams. Shields holding at 87%, Worf reported. Their weapons are powerful but inefficient. Dispersed energy over a wide area, rather than concentrated penetration. Another volley hammered them. 83%. 79%. Captain, they're not stopping, Riker said. We need to respond. Return fire, Picard ordered, his voice cold. Target their weapon systems. Minimum necessary force. Worf's fingers moved with practiced precision. Firing phasers. Orange beams lanced out from the Enterprise's arrays, not the wide dispersal pattern used for warning shots, but focused cutting beams designed to slice through shielding and hull. The phasers struck the Star Destroyer's forward section. The results were immediate and devastating. The Imperial shields flared, held for perhaps half a second, then collapsed like wet paper. The phaser beams carved through the hull plating, vaporizing durasteel, cutting clean lines through weapons emplacements. Explosions blossomed across the Star Destroyer's surface as power conduits ruptured. Their shields have collapsed, Data announced. Our weapons are significantly more advanced than their defensive capabilities can handle. The Star Destroyer tried to come about, to bring more weapons to bear. Picard watched the massive ship lumber through its turn, slow, ponderous, built for intimidation rather than maneuverability. They're launching fighters, Data reported. 36 small craft, designation unknown. On screen, TIE fighters poured from the Star Destroyer's hangar bays, hexagonal wings screaming through space, twin ion engines glowing bright. They swarmed toward the Enterprise in attack formation. Mr. Worf? Their fighters are unshielded, Worf said with satisfaction. Point defense phasers will handle them. The Enterprise's smaller phaser arrays came online, tracking systems locking onto each TIE with computer precision. Orange beams lanced out in rapid succession. TIE fighters exploded like firecrackers, their fragile hulls unable to withstand even glancing hits from weapons designed to penetrate Borg armor. All fighters destroyed, Worf reported. The Star Destroyer is attempting to target us again. Target their engines, Picard ordered. Disable but do not destroy. 2 more phaser strikes. The Star Destroyer's main engines exploded in silent fury, the ship going dark as primary power failed. Emergency lighting flickered on across its hull, red warning lights that painted the vessel in blood colors. They're dead in space, Worf confirmed. No weapons, no engines, life support failing. How many crew aboard that vessel? Picard asked. Data's console chirped. Approximately 37,000 life signs, Captain. Picard closed his eyes briefly. 37,000. Beam their crew to the nearest habitable planet. All of them. We're not murderers. Captain, Riker said quietly. That will take hours. We don't have. Captain, Data interjected. I am detecting 17 Imperial vessels converging on our position. ETA 4 minutes. They must have detected the engagement. Damn. Picard made a decision. Beam as many as we can in the next 3 minutes. Emergency transport, multiple pads, then we leave. The Enterprise's transporter system screamed to life, cycling at maximum capacity. Thousands of Imperial crew members materialized on the planet below, confused, disarmed, stranded but alive. 2 minutes until Imperial arrival, Data announced. Captain, we've transported 12,000. The transporter chief's voice came over the comm. But there's still 25,000 aboard. Picard's hands gripped the armrests. 25,000 people he was about to leave behind on a dying ship. Continue transport. Mr. Data, how fast can we move? Data's fingers flew. At maximum warp, very fast by our standards. However, these vessels appear to use a different form of faster-than-light travel hyperspace rather than warp drive. Their drives are significantly faster for interstellar travel, though their sublight engines are inferior to our impulse capabilities. 1 minute, Worf growled. 18,000 transported, the transporter chief reported. That's all we have time for, Picard said, hating every word. Helm, set course bearing 187 Mark IV. Maximum warp. Get us out of here. The Enterprise banked away from the disabled Star Destroyer, her nacelles flaring bright as she accelerated. Behind them, the Imperial vessel grew smaller, a broken monument to a first contact gone catastrophically wrong. Picard knew some of those crew would survive emergency pods, auxiliary life support, but not all. Imperial vessels have arrived, Data reported. They are not pursuing. They appear to be conducting rescue operations. Small mercy. Picard stood. I'll be in my ready room. Number 1, you have the bridge. In his ready room an hour later, Picard nursed a cup of Earl Grey and tried to process what had happened. Data and Geordi LaForge stood before his desk, having completed their analysis of the engagement. Talk to me, Picard said. Geordi pulled up a holographic display. Captain, that ship, the Star Destroyer, was running on technology that's both impressive and primitive. Their power generation is massive, fusion reactors putting out incredible energy. But their weapons? They're basically directed plasma cannons. High yield, sure, but no finesse, no modulation. Our shields adapted to them after the first volley. And their shields? Picard asked. Non-existent by our standards, Data added. They rely on ray shielding, a static energy field designed to dissipate directed energy weapons. Effective against their own technology, but our phasers cut through the frequency gaps like they weren't even there. A quantum torpedo would have obliterated that vessel in a single hit. Picard set down his tea. What about their faster-than-light capability? You mentioned hyperspace. That's where they have us beat, Geordi admitted. Hyperspace is fast. Really fast. That Star Destroyer could cross the distance from Earth to Vulcan in minutes. Maybe hours for longer distances. Our warp drive is more versatile, better maneuverability, better precision, but for raw speed? They've got the edge. Which means, Picard said slowly, they can bring reinforcements to any location faster than we can escape. Correct, Captain. Unless we find a way to access their hyperspace lanes or improve our warp capabilities. What about their fighter craft? Picard asked. Geordi shook his head. Those TIE fighters? Suicide machines. No shields, minimal armor, just twin ion engines and laser cannons. They're designed for overwhelming numbers, not survivability. A single phaser burst took them out, but they had 36 fighters on that one ship, Data noted. If the Empire has thousands of Star Destroyers, each carrying similar complements, the numerical advantage becomes significant. A chime at the door. Come. Worf entered, his expression grim. Captain, I've been analyzing the transmission we received, the language, the terminology. I believe we have encountered a military dictatorship. The term imperial suggests an empire. Their immediate hostility, their threats, this is not a society that values diplomacy. Picard stood, walking to the window that showed stars sliding past at warp speed. A galaxy ruled by force rather than law. Mr. Data, what are the odds we'll encounter more of these Imperials? Given the size of a standard galaxy and the apparent reach of this empire, I would estimate a 93% probability of additional encounters within the next 48 hours. Then we need information. We need to understand who we're dealing with before we can find a way home. Picard turned back to his officers. Mr. Worf, maintain yellow alert. Geordi, I want continuous monitoring of all communication frequencies. If there are others in this galaxy who oppose this empire, we need to find them. Captain, Data said, tilting his head, you believe there is an opposition force? In my experience, Mr. Data, tyranny always breeds resistance. Someone, somewhere in this galaxy, is fighting back. We need to find them. And if we don't? Worf asked. Picard's expression hardened. Then we find a way home and warn Starfleet that there's a hostile empire in another galaxy. Either way, we need intelligence. The next 2 days were tense. The Enterprise stayed at high warp, avoiding populated systems, scanning everything. Data and his team worked around the clock, intercepting transmissions, building a picture of the galaxy they'd stumbled into. What they found was disturbing. Captain, Data reported in a briefing, I have compiled sufficient data to present a comprehensive analysis. The senior staff gathered in the briefing room. Data pulled up holographic displays, star charts, military assessments, Intercepted communications. The Galactic Empire controls approximately 70% of this galaxy, Data began. Central authority is vested in an emperor, supported by regional governors called Moffs and Grand Moffs. Their military consists of thousands of star destroyers, millions of smaller craft, and a ground army numbering in the trillions. Trillions, Riker repeated. Indeed. However, their technology is uneven. Advanced in some areas hyperdrive, power generation, some weapon systems. Primitive in others computing, shields, sensors. Their military doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force and intimidation. Geordi leaned forward. What about opposition? There is a resistance movement called the Rebel Alliance. Small, poorly equipped, operating from hidden bases. They scored a major victory approximately 3 years ago, destroying a battle station called the Death Star. Death Star? Picard asked. Data pulled up schematics. A moon-sized battle station capable of destroying planets. The Empire used it to annihilate a planet called Alderaan as a demonstration of power. The Rebel Alliance destroyed it shortly thereafter. Silence in the briefing room. They destroyed an entire planet? Troy whispered. Billions of people? Approximately 2 billion. Data confirmed. The Empire's doctrine is to rule through fear. Grand Moff Tarkin, the Death Star's commander, called it the Tarkin Doctrine. Fear of force, not force itself, maintains control. Worf slammed his fist on the table. This is obscene. They are tyrants, monsters. They are the dominant power in this galaxy, Picard said quietly. And we're alone, cut off from Starfleet, in their space. He looked at his officers. Opinions? We need to find this Rebel Alliance, Riker said immediately. If anyone can help us understand this empire, it's the people fighting them. Agreed, Dr. Crusher said. But we also need to be careful. We don't know their motivations, their methods. For all we know, they could be as bad as the Empire. I do not believe that is the case, Data said. Intercepted rebel communications suggest a movement dedicated to restoring democratic government. Their stated goal is to re-establish the old republic. Then we make contact, Picard decided. But carefully. We approach as observers, offering aid but not commitment. We need to understand this conflict before we take sides. 2 days later, the Enterprise detected a coded transmission on a narrowband frequency. The signal was weak, scattered, designed to avoid detection. Data isolated it, cleaned it up, and translated it. Captain, I believe I have found your resistance. The message was short, desperate. Rebel Base Echo 7 to any Alliance forces. Imperial Fleet inbound. Request immediate evacuation assistance. Coordinates attached. For the rebellion. Picard looked at Riker. Number 1? Could be a trap, Riker said. But if it's not, set course for those coordinates. Maximum warp, yellow alert. If they're in trouble, we may be able to help. But we go in carefully. The Enterprise arrived at the edge of a small solar system 3 hours later. Sensors immediately detected the base, a small outpost on a barren moon, shielded by crude stealth technology that barely registered on Federation sensors. Life signs, Data reported. Approximately 400 humanoids, multiple species. They appear to be in a state of high alert. Any Imperial vessels? None detected. However, there are hyperspace signatures suggesting recent activity in the system. The Imperials may have already departed, or they may be in transit. Hail them, Picard ordered. The response was immediate and hostile. An alien face appeared on screen, Mon Calamari. Salmon-colored skin, large eyes. The being wore military insignia and held a blaster pistol pointed directly at the view screen. This is Admiral Akbar of the Alliance to restore the Republic. Identify yourselves immediately. If you're an Imperial trick, you'll find us ready to fight. Picard raised his hands placatingly. Admiral, we are not with the Empire. We're explorers from another galaxy, brought here by accident. We detected your distress call and came to offer assistance. Akbar's eyes narrowed. Another galaxy? Do you think we're fools? The Empire doesn't need elaborate lies to crush us. Admiral, we recently disabled one of their star destroyers. We have no allegiance to your empire and no desire to see innocents harmed. You disabled a Star Destroyer? Another voice, this time human. An older woman with white hair stepped into frame beside Akbar. How? Superior technology, Picard said simply. Admiral, if you're truly in danger, allow us to help. We can evacuate your base if necessary. The woman Mon Mothma, data supplied via text on Picard's console, studied him carefully. We're transmitting coordinates. If you're telling the truth, beam down. Alone. We need to talk. Captain, Worf growled. I do not recommend this. Noted, Lieutenant. Picard stood. But if we want their trust, we need to show ours. Number 1. If I'm not back in 2 hours, take whatever action you deem appropriate. Picard materialized in a dimly lit command center carved from moon rock. Dozens of faces turned to stare at him, humans, aliens, all carrying weapons, all looking exhausted and desperate. Mon Mothma approached, flanked by Admiral Akbar and a towering Wookiee that had to duck to avoid the ceiling. Captain Picard, I am Mon Mothma, leader of the Rebel Alliance. You claim to have destroyed an Imperial Star Destroyer. Disabled, Picard corrected. We evacuated the crew. We're not executioners. The Empire would not show such mercy. Mon Mothma gestured to a holographic display showing the galactic map, thousands of systems, most marked in Imperial red. Captain, you've entered a galaxy at war. The Empire rules through fear and overwhelming force. They destroyed an entire planet, Alderaan, as a demonstration of power. Billions dead in an instant. Picard's expression hardened. They what? Akbar pulled up footage. A peaceful planet, blue and green. Then a battle station, moon-sized, firing a single beam. The planet exploded. Just exploded. Chunks of rock spinning into space, atmosphere venting, billions of lives snuffed out in seconds. That's impossible, Picard whispered. The energy required, the Death Star, Mon Mothma said bitterly. The Empire's ultimate weapon. We destroyed it at Yavin, but the Emperor is building another. This is what we fight against, Captain. A regime that murders billions to maintain control. Picard stared at the footage, watching the planet die again and again in a loop. He thought of the Federation, of Starfleet's principles to explore, to seek out new life, to protect the innocent. He thought of Wolf 359, of the Borg cube that had slaughtered 40 starships and 11,000 people. This was worse. So much worse. The Federation cannot stand by while such atrocities occur, he said quietly. The Federation? Mon Mothma asked. My people. Our government. Picard met her eyes. We are explorers, Admiral. Scientists and diplomats. But we are also sworn to defend those who cannot defend themselves. What you've shown me, this cannot stand. Beautiful words, Akbar said gruffly. But words won't defeat the Empire. No, Picard agreed. But ships might. Allow me to contact my vessel. He tapped his comm badge. Enterprise. This is Picard. Scan the system. How many Imperial vessels inbound? Data's voice crackled through. 3 Imperial Star Destroyers, Captain. ETA 12 minutes. They are approaching at high speed. The command center erupted in activity. Rebels rushing to stations, weapons being grabbed, evacuation procedures starting. Klaxons wailed. Someone shouted about getting the transports ready. We can't fight 3 Star Destroyers, Mon Mothma said. We have to evacuate. No, Picard said. You don't. Enterprise. Remain in orbit. Prepare for combat. Full tactical alert. Captain, Riker's voice, concerned. Are you sure about this? Number 1. They destroyed an entire planet. Billions dead. The Federation was founded on principles that do not allow such atrocities to go unanswered. We engage. Mon Mothma grabbed his arm. Captain, you don't understand. 3 Star Destroyers is a fleet. They'll destroy your ship. With respect, Admiral. They'll try. In orbit, the Enterprise E hung like a silver needle against the stars. On the bridge, Worf smiled a predator's smile. Finally, the Klingon muttered, a worthy battle. Riker stood from the command chair, pacing. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. We're about to engage 3 hostiles. Shields to maximum. Charge all weapons banks. Prepare quantum torpedoes. The 3 Star Destroyers dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, a wall of Imperial gray, weapons already powering up. Their commander expected to find a fleeing rebel transport, easy prey for their combined firepower. Instead, they found a sleek vessel that looked almost fragile compared to their massive hulls. Unknown vessel. The Imperial commander broadcast, "You are harboring enemies of the Empire. Stand down or be destroyed." Riker stood in the command chair, Picard still on the surface. "This is Commander William Riker of the Federation Starship Enterprise. You are the ones who should stand down. We will not allow you to harm the people on this moon." The Imperial commander laughed. "1 ship against 3 Star Destroyers? Your bravery is admirable but foolish. You have 1 chance to surrender." "We don't surrender," Worf growled. "We fight." "Mr. Worf," Riker said calmly, "show them what foolish looks like." The 3 Star Destroyers opened fire simultaneously. Hundreds of turbo-laser bolts screamed toward the Enterprise from multiple angles, a killing field of coherent plasma designed to vaporize any ship caught in its crossfire. Green energy lanced through space, converging on the Federation ship. The Enterprise's shields flared bright, absorbed, adapted. "Shields at 91%, Worf reported. "Their weapons are pathetic. Return fire. All weapons. Let's make this quick." The Enterprise E was designed to fight the Borg, to stand against vessels that could adapt to any weapon, absorb any damage. She carried enough firepower to crack a planet. Against Star Destroyers, she was a god of war. Phaser arrays fired in sequence 12 beams of coherent Nadion particles, each one precision targeted at the Star Destroyer's shield generators. The Imperial shields collapsed under the onslaught, unable to compensate for weapons that shifted frequency thousands of times per second. "Target their bridge towers," Riker ordered. Surgical strikes. Quantum torpedoes followed blue-white spheres of contained antimatter that hit with the force of small suns. The first Star Destroyer's bridge tower exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations. Command crew vaporized. The ship immediately lost coordination, weapons firing wildly. The second Star Destroyer tried to turn, to bring its broadside to bear. Too slow. The Enterprise pivoted on impulse engines, firing phasers along the Imperial ship's flank. Atmosphere vented from dozens of breaches. The internal explosions were visible through the hull rupture's orange blooms of death. TIE fighters launching, Data announced. 200+ contacts. The TIE swarm descended on the Enterprise like angry insects, hexagonal wings screaming, laser cannons firing. Against a rebel cruiser, this would have been overwhelming force. Worf allocated point defense phasers, smaller arrays, designed for precisely this scenario. Orange beams laced space, each one guided by targeting computers that could track a virus at warp speed. TIE fighters exploded in clusters, their unshielded hulls evaporating under focused particle beams. The third Star Destroyer's captain realized he was watching a massacre. "Retreat," he screamed. "Jump to." A quantum torpedo hit his ship's hyperdrive. The Star Destroyer tried to jump anyway. The hyperdrive exploded, tearing the ship's rear section apart. It tumbled, dead in space, trailing debris and bodies. In 90 seconds, the fighter screen was gone. In 3 minutes, 2 Star Destroyers were dead in space. The third was crippled, engines failing, communications broadcasting surrender. "Cease fire," Riker ordered. "Beam their surviving crew to the moon's surface, away from the rebel base." On the moon's surface, the rebel command center sat in stunned silence. Their sensors had tracked the entire battle, had watched a single Federation ship obliterate 3 Star Destroyers with contemptuous ease. Mon Mothma turned to Picard, her eyes wide. "Captain, what are you?" "We're Starfleet," Picard said simply. "And we'd like to offer the Rebel Alliance a formal military alliance." Admiral Akbar lowered his blaster, holstering it with shaking hands. "Alliance? Captain, with ships like yours, we could win this war." "That's the idea, Admiral." For the first time in years, Mon Mothma felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. The Federation task force dropped out of warp at the edge of the Quellan system like avenging angels. 3 Galaxy-class starships, the Venture, the Odyssey, and the Challenger. 5 Akira-class destroyers bristling with torpedo launchers. 2 Sovereign-class vessels, the Enterprise E and her sister ship, the Sovereign herself. Admiral Nechaev's face filled the Enterprise's view screen from the Sovereign's bridge. "Captain Picard, I hope you understand what you've gotten us into." "I understand perfectly, Admiral." Picard stood rigid on his bridge. "We're committing an act of war against an interstellar empire in another galaxy." But after reviewing the evidence, the destruction of Alderaan, the slavery, the systematic oppression of entire species, Starfleet Command agreed. The Federation cannot stand idle. "Then let's make this count." Nechaev's expression hardened. "All ships, target the Imperial garrison. We're here to liberate Quellan 4. Make it hurt." Quellan 4 was a mining world, 3 million inhabitants, mostly human and Sulistan, working under Imperial occupation. The garrison consisted of 2 star destroyers, a complement of ground troops, and orbital defense platforms that looked intimidating until Federation sensors tore through their specifications. "Primitive," Data announced. "Their targeting systems operate on visual tracking and basic radar. Our ECM will render them effectively blind." "All ships," Picard ordered, "engage at will." The Federation fleet split into attack wings. The Galaxy-class ships, each one, massive, powerful, built to carry families and exploration labs, but armed well enough to fight wars, took point. Their phaser arrays lit up space, carving through the orbital platforms like a knife through tissue. The platforms tried to return fire. Turbo laser batteries swiveling, targeting computers struggling to lock onto the Federation ships. But the Enterprise's ECM suite was broadcasting on every frequency, creating ghost images, sensor shadows, false targeting data. The Imperial gunners might as well have been blind. "Direct hit on Platform 7, Data reported. It is destroyed. Platform 9 is venting atmosphere. Platform 12 has lost power." The 2 star destroyers tried to respond. Turbo lasers firing, TIE fighters launching in desperate swarms. The Akira-class destroyers lived up to their purpose, rapid-fire torpedo platforms designed for ship-to-ship combat. Photon torpedoes streamed from their launch bays in volleys of 6, 12, 18 at a time. Each torpedo tracked its target with computer-guided precision, detonating against Imperial shields with antimatter fury. The first Star Destroyer lost shields in 40 seconds. Its hull breached in 3 places. Emergency klaxons wailed as sections decompressed, as power systems failed, as the mighty symbol of Imperial authority died in orbit above a world it had oppressed for 5 years. "Their second destroyer is attempting to maneuver," Worf reported, "bringing broadside to bear. Don't give them the chance," Nechaev ordered over fleet comms. "Challenger, Odyssey, converge and destroy." The 2 Galaxy-class ships accelerated, their combined firepower focused on a single target. Phaser arrays firing in synchronized patterns, quantum torpedoes launched in pairs. The Star Destroyer's shields collapsed, its hull cracked open like an egg. Internal explosions rippled through the superstructure. The bridge tower listed, then broke away entirely, tumbling into space. "Captain," Worf growled, satisfaction thick in his voice. "The second Star Destroyer is attempting to flee." "Don't let it." Picard's voice was cold. "If it escapes, it reports our tactics. Disable its hyperdrive." The Enterprise E broke formation, her impulse engines flaring as she accelerated. She was faster than the lumbering Star Destroyer, more maneuverable, piloted by officers who could thread a needle at warp speed. 2 precise phaser strikes, and the Imperial ship's hyperdrive exploded, trapping it in system. "They're surrendering," Data announced, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Beam their crew to the planet's surface, away from population centers." Picard turned to Riker. "Number 1, take an away team. Coordinate with local resistance. I want every Imperial installation identified and neutralized within 6 hours." "Aye, Captain." Riker headed for the turbolift. "Worf, you're with me. Security Team Alpha, report to Transporter Room 3. Riker materialized on Quellan 4th's surface with Worf and 30 security officers, the largest armed force Starfleet had deployed planetside since the Dominion War. They wore combat gear, carried phaser rifles set to heavy stun, and looked nothing like the explorers Starfleet pretended to be. The local resistance met them in an abandoned mining facility, 60 fighters with cobbled-together blasters and desperate courage. Their leader, a human woman named Sarah with a scar across her left cheek, stared at the Federation troops with wide eyes. "You're really here," she whispered. "The transmission said the rebellion found allies, but we didn't believe." "Believe it," Riker said, his voice firm but kind. "Show us where the Imperials are dug in. We'll handle the rest." Sarah pulled up a crude holographic map of the capital city. "The garrison headquarters is here, 300 stormtroopers, maybe more. They've got ATST walkers, heavy weapons emplacements. The outer perimeter is Duracrete walls, 4 meters thick, guard towers every 50 meters. What about civilians?" Riker asked. "They cleared the area when the rebellion started making noise. The headquarters is isolated." "But Commander," she hesitated, "they have hostages. 20 of our people. They'll execute them if we attack." Worf's jaw tightened. "Then we transport the hostages out first." "Your people can tell us where they're being held?" "Yes, but the Imperials have transport jammers. Local only, but effective. Not against our transporters," Riker said with confidence. "We operate on different principles. Show us where the hostages are." The Imperial garrison headquarters was a Duracrete fortress in the capital city's center, a monument to Imperial oppression. All hard angles and gun emplacements. Stormtroopers patrolled the walls. ATST walkers stood sentinel at the main gate. Riker studied the facility through his tricorder. There. Sub-basement level 3. 20 life signs, confined space. That's got to be the holding cells. "I can transport them out," the Enterprise transporter's chief confirmed over comm. "But the moment we do, the Imperials will know we're here. Then, we make every second count." Riker looked at Worf. "The moment those hostages are clear, we go in hard and fast. Worf, take Team 1 through the main gate. I'll take Team 2 and hit the command center from above. Transporter insertion." "Understood." Worf checked his phaser rifle. "It will be a glorious battle. It'll be a short one." Riker corrected. "We're not here to trade shots. We're here to win. All teams, stand by." The hostages vanished in columns of light. 3 seconds later, Worf and 15 security officers materialized inside the garrison's courtyard. Stormtroopers whirled, blasters rising. "Intruders, open fire!" Red blaster bolts sizzled through air. Worf's team scattered, taking cover behind equipment crates and parked vehicles. Federation phasers returned fire-orange beams that didn't just stun but punched through Stormtrooper armor like it was made of cardboard. The difference was stark. Stormtrooper armor was designed to disperse blaster bolts, energy weapons that functioned on similar principles to ancient laser technology. Phasers were particle weapons that excited matter at the molecular level until it disintegrated. The armor might as well have been paper. Stormtroopers dropped, stunned or vaporized, depending on phaser settings. An ATST walker lumbered forward, chin guns blazing. Worf snarled, adjusted his rifle to maximum, and fired a sustained beam that cut through the walker's leg joints like a plasma torch through butter. The machine toppled, crashing into a supply depot that exploded in a satisfying fireball. "Team 2, we're in position," Riker's voice crackled over comm. Above the garrison, Riker and his team materialized on the command center's roof. They moved fast-shaped charges on the rooftop access. 3-second countdown, breach and clear. The door exploded inward. Riker led the way, phaser rifle sweeping. The Imperial command staff barely had time to react before stun beams dropped them where they stood. A junior officer reached for his blaster. Ensign Park shot first. The Imperial collapsed, unconscious. "Clear," Riker called. "Worf, command center secured. We have access to their communications and security systems." "Acknowledged," Worf's voice came back, punctuated by weapons fire. "Resistance is collapsing. They are attempting to surrender. Let them." Riker moved to the command console, his tricorder interfacing with the Imperial systems. "Broadcast surrender terms. Any stormtrooper who drops their weapon lives. Anyone who keeps fighting gets stunned." The garrison fell in 23 minutes. By the time the last stormtrooper surrendered, 300 Imperials were unconscious or disarmed, the fortress secured, and not a single Federation casualty. Sarah stood beside Riker in the courtyard, tears streaming down her face. 5 years, she said. 5 years we fought them. You ended it in 20 minutes. We're just getting started, Riker promised. Over the next 3 weeks, the Federation task force swept through the Outer Rim like a cleansing fire. World after world, garrison after garrison, the pattern repeated. The Empire's forces were designed to intimidate, to oppress, to crush rebellion through overwhelming numbers and brutal tactics. They had never faced an enemy with tactical transporters, shields that adapted in real time, and weapons that made their vaunted star destroyers look like ancient frigates. The Odyssey liberated Ryloth, breaking the slave trade that had operated there for decades. Captain Hayashi led the assault personally, his ship's phasers carving through the slaver compounds, while security teams beamed directly into the holding pens. 10,000 Twi'leks freed in a single day. The slave masters tried to fight. They died. The Challenger freed Eriadu, destroying an Imperial academy and capturing 3 Moffs, who suddenly discovered that Federation prisons were far more humane than Imperial ones, but escape was impossible. The Moffs had expected torture, execution, the standard Imperial response to rebellion. Instead, they got clean cells, regular meals, and legal representation. It confused them more than violence ever could. The venture hit both OE, eliminating an Imperial intelligence station that had been coordinating anti-rebel operations across 6 sectors. The station's commander tried to activate a self-destruct. Data hacked the system in 4 seconds, disabled the failsafes, and downloaded every Imperial secret the station held. The body count was minimal. Starfleet's stun settings meant Imperial troops woke up as prisoners rather than corpses. It was mercy the Empire had never shown, and it terrified the Imperials more than death would have. They didn't understand an enemy that valued life, even Imperial life. In the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, Emperor Palpatine watched holographic reports with growing fury. The blue-lit throne room cast shadows across his withered face as Grand Moff Tarkin stood at attention, his normally composed features tight with concern. "Explain to me," Palpatine hissed, his voice like breaking glass, "how a single fleet is dismantling our Outer Rim territories. My lord, their technology is beyond anything we've encountered." Tarkin pulled up tactical displays footage of the Enterprise obliterating Star Destroyers. "Their shields adapt to our weapons. Their targeting systems are impossibly precise, and their ability to transport troops directly through our defenses renders conventional fortifications useless." Palpatine's fingers drummed on the armrest of his throne. "I sense no force presence in these invaders. They are mundane, technological, yet they challenge the Empire as no one has dared since the Clone Wars. We cannot fight them conventionally, my lord," Tarkin admitted, the words clearly bitter on his tongue. "Our numerical advantage means nothing if they can destroy 3 Star Destroyers with a single ship, and our intelligence suggests they have more vessels arriving through whatever gateway brought them here. Then fight them unconventionally." Palpatine's eyes glowed yellow in the shadows. "Lord Vader." Darth Vader emerged from the darkness like a black specter. His breathing filled the chamber, mechanical and menacing. Each breath a reminder of power contained in a shell of metal and hate. "What is thy bidding, my master?" These Federation invaders think themselves righteous liberators. They fight with mercy, with restraint. Palpatine's lips curled in disgust. "Show them what happens when they challenge the Empire. Take Death Squadron. Hunt them down. Show them that mercy is weakness. Destroy them utterly." Vader bowed, cape sweeping. "As you wish, my master. They will learn the price of defying the Empire. See that they do." Palpatine turned back to his displays. "And Vader, make an example of them. I want the rebellion to see what happens to those who dare oppose us." The Enterprise E hung in orbit above Dathomir, coordinating with the Rebel Alliance on supply lines and strategic planning. Mon Mothma's flagship, the Redemption, held position nearby. The first time Rebel and Federation Command had operated in direct cooperation. Picard met with Mon Mothma via viewscreen, both of them studying tactical displays that showed the shifting front lines. Your task force has accomplished in 3 weeks what we've struggled to achieve in 3 years, Mon Mothma said. 27 systems liberated, 4,000 Imperial prisoners. And you've done it with minimal casualties on both sides. That's the Federation way, Picard replied. We fight when we must, but we don't slaughter unnecessarily. Every Imperial soldier we capture is one less enemy we face tomorrow. The Empire doesn't see it that way. They'll view your mercy as weakness. Let them. We've proven our strength in battle. We don't need to prove our brutality. Captain, Data interrupted, his console beeping urgently. I am detecting a massive hyperspace signature. Multiple large vessels entering the system. On screen, space tore open and Death Squadron arrived. 6 Imperial Star Destroyers arranged in perfect formation around a vessel that dwarfed them all. 8 kilometers of midnight black hull, bristling with more weapons than some planetary defense grids. The Executor Vader's flagship, a super star destroyer that represented the pinnacle of Imperial engineering. Holy shit, Geordi breathed from engineering. Worf's console lit up like a Christmas tree. Captain, I am reading weapons signatures across all Imperial vessels. Power levels significantly higher than standard Star Destroyers. They are preparing to fire. Picard's jaw tightened. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Contact the Redemption, tell them to fall back immediately. Captain, Mon Mothma's voice came through, tight with fear. That's the Executor, Vader's ship. You need to retreat. Now. Not until you're clear, Admiral. Enterprise out. Picard stood, straightening his uniform. Hail them. The view screen shifted. Darth Vader stood on a command bridge that stretched into the distance. Imperial officers scurrying at stations below him. His mask regarded the Enterprise with mechanical indifference. The breathing echoed across the channel, rhythmic, mechanical, somehow worse than any threat. I am Lord Vader, Supreme Commander of the Imperial Fleet. You have attacked the Empire. You have destroyed our ships. You have freed our prisoners. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Lord Vader, I am Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the United Federation of Planets. We cannot stand by while your Empire commits atrocities across the galaxy. We are prepared to defend ourselves and those under our protection. Vader's mask tilted slightly. Your conviction is admirable, but futile. The Empire is eternal. Resistance is meaningless. You will die here, and your ships will burn as a warning to all who oppose us. I've heard similar speeches from the Borg Collective, Lord Vader. We're still here. They're not. For a moment, there was silence. Then Vader made a gesture. Fire. Destroy them all. 7 Star Destroyers opened up simultaneously. Thousands of turbo-laser bolts converged on the Enterprise and the Redemption. The rebel ship's shields collapsed almost immediately, its hull taking hits that carved molten scars across its surface. Atmosphere vented from dozens of breaches. The Enterprise's shields flared brighter than they had against any previous Imperial attack. Warning klaxons wailed. Shields at 63%, Worf reported, alarm creeping into his voice. The Executor's weapons are significantly more powerful than standard Star Destroyers. Each hit is comparable to a Borg cutting beam. Evasive maneuvers. Picard gripped his chair. Return fire. Target the escorts first. We need to even the odds. The Enterprise banked hard, her impulse engines flaring as she dove beneath the Imperial formation. Phaser arrays tracking. Quantum torpedoes locked. She fired on the move, strike, and fade, using speed and maneuverability that the Star Destroyers couldn't match. 2 escorts took critical damage, their bridges exploding as quantum torpedoes found weak points in their shield geometry. But there were still 4 more Star Destroyers, and the Executor was closing distance. The Super Star Destroyer fired its main batteries, massive turbo-laser cannons that could reduce a city to slag in seconds. The beams hit the Enterprise's dorsal shields. The ship shuddered, deck plating buckled. In engineering, Geordi grabbed a console as a power conduit exploded behind him. Shields at 41%, Worf shouted. We cannot sustain this. Captain, Riker said urgently. We can't win this fight. Not against that thing. I know. Picard watched the Executor lumber closer, its mass darkening the view screen. But we need to buy time for the redemption to escape. Mr. Data, plot a course through the asteroid field at Mark 215. Maximum impulse. Captain, the field's density makes navigation extremely dangerous at high speed. I'm counting on it. Engage, and send a message to the redemption fallback to the rendezvous point. We'll meet them there. The Enterprise rocketed toward the asteroid field with Death Squadron in pursuit. Vader stood on his bridge, watching the Federation ship weave through space with impossible grace. Impressive, he admitted to himself. But futile. Continue pursuit, all ships. The Star Destroyers followed, spreading out in pursuit formation. The Executor's captain looked nervous. My lord, the asteroid field's density is irrelevant, Vader interrupted. The Enterprise will not escape. Maintain pursuit. Inside the asteroid field, the Enterprise danced. Asteroids, the size of moons, drifted past, some so close the shields flared from proximity. Data piloted with android precision, threading impossible gaps, using the terrain like a weapon. Behind them, the Star Destroyers followed. But they were built for open space combat, for intimidation and overwhelming firepower. Their bulk became a liability as they scraped against asteroids, as their shields drained trying to deflect debris. 2 Star Destroyers have fallen back, Worf reported, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. Shield damage too severe. But the Executor is still closing. That ship is too large to follow us deep into the field, Picard said. Push deeper, full impulse. They went deeper. The asteroids grew denser, more chaotic. The Enterprise's shields dropped to 40%, then 30%, taking hits from debris that her maneuverability couldn't avoid. Red alerts flashed across every console, but the Executor couldn't follow. The massive ship hung at the field's edge, unable to risk its bulk in the chaos. 2 more Star Destroyers peeled off, their shields failing, hulls scored by asteroid impacts. Vader stood motionless on his bridge, watching the Enterprise disappear into the asteroids. He reached out with the Force, feeling for the life aboard that ship. He sensed determination, courage, and something else, a complete absence of fear. These Federation warriors truly believed they could win. Interesting, Vader murmured. Very interesting. They fight without fear, without hate. How is that possible? My lord, the Executor's captain said carefully. Shall we wait for them to emerge? No. They have proven resourceful. We will face them again, but on ground of our choosing. Vader turned from the viewport. Set course for Coruscant. The Emperor must know these Federation forces are more dangerous than anticipated. They do not fight for power or conquest. They fight for principle. That makes them the most dangerous enemy of all. The Enterprise limped out of the asteroid field 3 hours later, shields at 15%, hull scored but intact. They rendezvoused with the Redemption at a secret rebel base in the Pantora system, where emergency repairs began immediately. Picard met with Mon Mothma in the Enterprise's observation lounge. The rebel leader looked exhausted but determined, her white robes singed from the battle. Captain, Vader nearly destroyed us both. If you hadn't drawn him off. She shook her head. The Executor is unlike any ship we've faced. It's a symbol of imperial might, indestructible. Nothing is indestructible, Picard said quietly. But you were right to be concerned. We can't win through attrition. The Empire has thousands of ships. Even with our technological advantage, they'll eventually overwhelm us through sheer numbers. Then what do you propose? Picard pulled up a star chart, his fingers manipulating the holographic display. We contacted Starfleet through the anomaly. They're sending reinforcements enough to turn this from a raid into a real war. But more importantly, we target Imperial infrastructure. Their shipyards, their training facilities, their supply lines. We don't just free worlds, we make sure the Empire can't rebuild what we destroy. Mon Mothma studied the chart, her eyes calculating. You're talking about total war, striking at the heart of their production capabilities. I'm talking about winning. Picard met her gaze. The Federation doesn't start wars lightly, Admiral. But when we fight to win. Half measures won't defeat the Empire. We need to cripple their ability to wage war. The rebels have been trying that for years. The Empire is too vast, too entrenched. The rebels didn't have ships that can destroy Star Destroyers in 3 minutes. You didn't have transporters, replicators, shields that adapt in real time. You fought bravely with what you had. Now you have us. Picard's voice hardened. And together, we're going to tear the Empire apart piece by piece. A week later, a young man in worn Jedi robes transported aboard the Enterprise. Luke Skywalker stood in the transporter room, looking around with wide eyes at technology that seemed almost magical compared to what he'd grown up with on Tatooine. "Welcome aboard," Picard said, extending his hand. "Commander Skywalker, just Luke is fine." They shook, and Picard noted the calluses on the young man's hand, a warrior's hand despite his youth. "Mon Mothma said you wanted to speak with me about the Emperor, among other things. Walk with me." They toured the Enterprise, Luke asking questions about everything. How the transporters worked, what powered the ship, how they traveled faster than light without hyperspace. Picard answered patiently, impressed by the young man's curiosity and intelligence. There was something about Luke Skywalker, an earnestness, a light that reminded Picard of Wesley Crusher when he'd first come aboard. In the observation lounge, they sat across from each other. Picard ordered tea. Luke declined, too nervous. "You're a Jedi," Picard said. "It wasn't a question. I'm trying to be." Luke's hand unconsciously touched the lightsaber at his belt. "The Jedi Order was destroyed before I was born. I'm learning what I can from the old texts, from what little training I got from Obi-Wan and Yoda. But there's so much I don't know. Tell me about the Force." Luke explained energy that bound the galaxy together, that a Jedi could sense and manipulate, light and dark sides, balance and corruption, the Emperor's mastery of Sith powers that made him more dangerous than any fleet. He spoke of visions, of sensing danger, of moving objects with thought alone. Data, sitting nearby at Picard's request, listened with fascination. Fascinating, an energy field generated by living beings that affects reality itself. "I am detecting no such field with my sensors." "That's because you're not alive," Luke said, then immediately looked embarrassed. "Sorry, I didn't mean." "No offense taken," Data assured him with what might have been a smile. "I am indeed not a biological life form. The absence of this force in my sensors suggests it operates on principles our technology cannot yet measure." "Intriguing. The point," Luke continued, leaning forward, "is that the Emperor can reach across the galaxy with the Force. He can crush ships, kill with a thought, sense threats before they emerge. Your weapons and shields won't protect you from him. I've seen what he can do. He turned my father into a monster with the dark side." Picard sipped his tea thoughtfully. "Are you suggesting we cannot defeat him?" "I'm suggesting you can't defeat him with firepower alone. The Force, it requires a different kind of battle, a spiritual one." Luke's expression darkened. "And there's something else, something I need to tell you. Darth Vader. He paused, struggling with the words. "He's my father." Silence in the observation lounge. Counselor Troy, also present, leaned forward, her empathic senses picking up the torrent of emotion from the young Jedi. "That must be incredibly difficult. He was Anakin Skywalker once. A great Jedi Knight. The greatest," they said. "The Emperor corrupted him, turned him into a weapon of fear and destruction. But I believe there's still good in him. I have to believe that. Because if there isn't..." Luke's voice trailed off. Picard studied the young man, so much weight on such young shoulders. It reminded him of his own burdens, of the responsibilities that came with command. "Then perhaps we're fighting the same war from different angles, Luke. We'll handle the Empire's military might. You focus on redeeming your father. Together we might actually win this." Luke met his eyes and nodded slowly. "Together. I like the sound of that." The War Council convened in the Enterprise's main briefing room 2 days later. Admiral Nechayev present via hologram, Mon Mothma, and Admiral Akbar representing the rebels. Luke sitting quietly in the corner observing, and Picard's senior staff arranged around the table. "We have a target," Nechayev announced without preamble. A holographic display showed a massive orbital complex, shipyards stretching for hundreds of kilometers, star destroyers in various stages of construction, gantries, and dry docks surrounding partially built warships like metal skeletons. Kuwait Drive Yards, the Empire's primary ship construction facility. Intelligence suggests 70% of their fleet was built there. Destroy it, Mon Mothma said, her voice hard, and we cripple their ability to replace losses. They're already down 60 Star Destroyers from your operations, if they can't build more. The war shifts in our favor, Akbar finished. But Admiral, the defenses will be formidable. Multiple Star Destroyers permanently stationed there. Orbital platforms. Fighter screens that number in the thousands. And the shipyard workers there will be hundreds of thousands of civilians. We evacuate them first, Picard said firmly. We're not the Empire. We don't murder non-combatants. Agreed, Nechayev said. We'll broadcast evacuation warnings on all frequencies. Give them time to abandon the stations. Then we go in. Worf leaned forward, studying the display with warrior's eyes, analyzing angles of attack and defensive positions. The orbital platforms are the key. Destroy them first. Create gaps in the defensive net. Our ships focus fire, punch through, then target the shipyards themselves while rebel fighters screen against ties. We're bringing in reinforcements for this, Nechayev continued. Deep Space Nine contingent. Captain Sisko and the Defiant. The Defiant's quantum torpedoes and ablative armor make her perfect for this kind of assault. Riker raised an eyebrow. You're pulling DS9 through the anomaly? Just the Defiant and a support squadron. We're not leaving the station undefended. Nechayev's expression softened slightly. But Sisko volunteered. The Dominion War taught us how to fight total war. If we're going to do this, we do it right. Picard stood, looking around the table at Starfleet officers, rebel leaders, and a young Jedi who carried the hope of redemption in his heart. Then let's make it count. We strike Kuwait in 72 hours. Prepare your crews. Run simulations. This is where we prove the Empire can bleed. This is where we prove they can lose. In his meditation chamber aboard the Executor, Vader sat in silence. The chamber was spherical, sealed, the only place where he could remove his mask and breathe the pressurized air that kept him alive. His scarred face, what remained of Anakin Skywalker, reflected in polished black walls. He felt a disturbance in the Force. Something was coming, a storm of metal and fire, guided by minds he couldn't touch, wielding power he didn't understand. The Federation, they were planning something big. He reached out, trying to sense their intentions. But their minds were strange, alien, operating on logic and principle rather than emotion. It was like trying to grasp smoke. He replaced his mask. The breathing resumed. Darth Vader stood, igniting his lightsaber in the darkness. Crimson blade casting red shadows. Come then, Federation, he whispered to the darkness. Let us see which is stronger, your technology, or the dark side of the Force. Let us see if your conviction can stand against true power. The pieces were moving into position. The hammer was about to fall, and the galaxy would never be the same. The combined Federation Rebel Armada assembled at the staging point like a gathering storm. 50 Federation starships, Galaxy-class, Akira-class, Sovereign-class, Defiant-class escorts, and support vessels. 200 Rebel capital ships, Mon Calamari cruisers, Nebulon B frigates, CR-90 corvettes, and thousands of starfighters, X-wings, Y-wings, A-wings, even some repurposed TIE fighters captured in previous battles. Captain Benjamin Sisko stood on the Defiant's bridge, his dark eyes scanning the tactical displays. The Defiant small, brutal, built for one purpose, killing things. She'd survived the Dominion War. Now she'd face the Empire. Captain Sisko. Picard's voice came over the comm. Good to have you here. Wouldn't miss it, Captain. The prophets have a funny way of putting me where I'm needed. Sisko's voice carried that mixture of determination and weariness that came from too many battles. How's the target looking? Defended, Picard admitted. But not as heavily as we feared. Kuwait Drive Yards is too important to abandon, but the Empire's stretched thin. Our liberation campaign forced them to redeploy forces. We're looking at 15 Star Destroyers, orbital defense platforms, and approximately 3,000 TIE fighters. Sounds like a party, Sisko said dryly. The Defiant's ready. Let's go ruin their day. The Armada jumped warp drive and hyperdrive in perfect synchronization, two technologies that shouldn't work together, somehow coordinating through careful planning and data's calculations. They emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kuat system like the wrath of gods. Kuat drive yard sprawled before them, a mechanical colossus that dwarfed even the largest Federation starbase. Ring-shaped construction bays encircled the planet, each 1 kilometers across. Star destroyers in various stages of construction filled the dry docks, some mere skeletons, others nearly complete. Gantries and construction platforms connected everything in a web of industrial might. By the prophets, Cisco breathed. That thing must employ millions. 3,400,000 workers, according to our intelligence, data reported. We have been broadcasting evacuation warnings for the past 6 hours. Approximately 70% have evacuated to the planet's surface. The remainder are either Imperial military or chose to stay. Picard's jaw tightened. 2 choices, both terrible. Wait longer and let the Empire reinforce. Attack now and accept civilian casualties. The needs of the many. All ships. He broadcast across fleet channels. Weapons free. Primary targets are the defense platforms and military vessels. Avoid the civilian sections where possible. But remember, if we don't destroy this facility, the Empire builds more star destroyers and kills millions more across the galaxy. We do this fast. We do this clean. For the Federation, for the Rebellion. Engage. The Federation ships surged forward. The Imperial defense platforms opened fire immediately. Massive turbolaser batteries designed to crack cruiser armor. Green energy lanced across space. The Enterprise's shields flared but held. Shields at 89%, Worf reported. Their weapons are concentrated on the lead ships. Return fire. All weapons. Target defense platform Alpha 7. The Enterprise's phaser arrays spoke with deadly precision. Orange beams carved through the platform's shields like a hot knife through butter. The platform's reactor went critical. It exploded in a miniature sun that lit up the void. The Defiant dove into the fight like a predator. Small, fast, armored with a blade of armor that could shrug off hits that would cripple larger ships. Her quantum torpedoes streaked out blue-white death that hammered Imperial shields into collapse. Evasive pattern Delta 4, Cisco ordered. The Defiant rolled, dodged, weaved through incoming fire like she was dancing. Target that Star Destroyer's bridge. Let's give them something to think about. The Defiant's pulse phasers hammered the Star Destroyer's command tower. The bridge exploded. The Star Destroyer went dark, its command structure decapitated in seconds. The rebel fleet engaged with desperate courage. Mon Calamari cruisers, organic-looking ships with bulbous hulls, traded broadsides with Star Destroyers. Their shields were strong, their crews experienced, but they were outgunned 3-1. Liberty is taking heavy damage. Admiral Akbar's voice came over the command channel. Shields failing. We need support. Venture, Challenger. Break off and assist, Picard ordered. Cover the Liberty's retreat. The 2 Galaxy-class ships accelerated, their combined firepower focused on the Star Destroyers attacking the wounded Mon Calamari cruiser. Quantum torpedoes and phaser fire destroyed one Imperial ship, crippled another. The Liberty limped away, atmosphere venting from a dozen hull breaches. TIE fighters launching, Data announced. 3,000+ contacts. They are coordinating attack runs on our smaller vessels. Launch fighters, Akbar ordered. All squadrons, engage. X-wings and Y-wings poured from rebel carriers. They met the TIE swarm in a furball that filled space with weapons, fire, and explosions. Red laser bolts crossed green. Proton torpedoes chased fleeing TIEs. Fighters exploded in blossoms of fire. Wedge Antilles led Red Squadron through the chaos. Red 2, on your 6, break left. Red 2 rolled, a TIE fighter's lasers missing by meters. Wedge fired, nailed the TIE, banked hard to avoid debris. His sensors screamed more TIEs incoming. There's too many of them, Red 5 shouted. Stay tight, stay focused, Wedge ordered. Remember your training. We've been outnumbered before. A Federation runabout small auxiliary craft, not meant for combat, joined the fight. Its pilot fired phaser arrays at TIEs with stunning accuracy. 5 TIEs exploded in rapid succession. "This is Runabout Rio Grande," the pilot announced. "Rebel fighters, we've got your back." "Who the hell are you?" Wedge asked. "Chief Miles O'Brien, Deep Space Nine. Now shut up and fight." The battle devolved into brutal chaos. Ships burning, debris fields expanding. The void filled with the silent screams of dying vessels. Worf coordinated the Enterprise's tactical response with Klingon precision. "Target the construction bays. Photon torpedoes, full spread." The Enterprise fired. Blue spheres of antimatter streaked toward the shipyards. They impacted against half-built star destroyers still in dry dock. The incomplete ships exploded spectacularly, their unshielded hulls unable to withstand even a fraction of the torpedo's power. Gantries collapsed. Construction platforms tore free from their moorings. "Direct hit," Data reported. 4 star destroyers under construction have been destroyed. 5 more severely damaged. "Good," Picard said grimly. "Continue targeting the construction facilities. That's why we're here." The Executor dropped out of hyperspace at the system's edge. 8 kilometers of black metal death. Vader stood on the bridge, watching the battle unfold with cold calculation. "Lord Vader," the Executor's captain said nervously. "The Federation fleet is destroying the shipyards. If we don't intervene..." "I can see that, Captain." Vader's breathing filled the bridge. "Prepare the fleet. We attack their command ships, break their leadership, and the fleet falls apart." Death Squadron, the Executor, and 6 Imperial Star Destroyers surged forward. They hit the Federation fleet's flank like a hammer, turbolasers firing in coordinated volleys. The Odyssey took the brunt of the assault. Her shields collapsed under concentrated fire, hull plating vaporized. Secondary explosions rippled through her saucer section. "Odyssey is down." Nechaev's voice crackled over comm from the Sovereign. "All hands abandon ship." The Galaxy-class ship listed, her warp core going critical. Escape pods launched like fleeing birds. Then the Odyssey exploded, a brief new star that faded into debris. "No!" Picard gripped his armrest. 400 crew. Gone. "Captain," Worf growled. "The Executor is targeting us. Multiple star destroyers converging. Evasive maneuvers. All ships, focus fire on the Executor. If we can cripple Vader's flagship, the rest will falter." Every Federation ship in range turned their weapons on the superstar destroyer. Phasers, quantum torpedoes, photon torpedoes, pulse phasers from the Defiant, everything they had. The Executor's shields flared brilliant green. They held. Barely. "Their shields are adapting," Data reported. "The Executor's defensive systems are more sophisticated than standard star destroyers. It will take concentrated fire to penetrate." "Then concentrate fire," Picard ordered. "All ships, target Section 7 of the Executor's shields. Pour everything into that one point." The Federation fleet complied. 20 ships focusing their entire arsenal on a single section of the Executor's shields. The shields held, then flickered, then collapsed in that section. "Now," Picard shouted. "Quantum torpedoes, full spread!" The Enterprise fired. The Challenger fired. The Defiant fired. Blue-white spheres of antimatter struck the Executor's exposed hull. Explosions blossomed across the superstar destroyer's surface. Whole sections vented atmosphere. Fires raged in exposed corridors. But the Executor didn't die. Its hull was too thick, its construction too robust. The damage was severe but not fatal. "They're too tough," Sisko reported. "We need a bigger hammer." Luke Skywalker sat in the Enterprise's meditation chamber, eyes closed, reaching out with the Force. He felt the battle, the deaths, the fear, the determination, and he felt his father. Vader was here. Close. "Father," Luke projected through the Force. "You don't have to do this. The Empire is evil. You know this. I can feel the conflict in you." On the Executor's bridge, Vader staggered. Luke, his son, calling to him through the Force. The pull to the light. Always the pull. Padme's son, believing there was still good in him. "My lord?" an officer asked. "Are you well?" "I am fine," Vader said coldly. But he wasn't. The conflict raged inside him, Vader versus Anakin, dark versus light, hate versus love. "Join me," Luke's voice whispered. "Help me destroy the Emperor. Together we can end this. Father, please." Vader reached out, found his son aboard the Enterprise. How easy it would be to crush that ship, to silence that voice, to end this torment. His hand rose. The Force gathered. Then he felt something else. Something wrong. A disturbance. The Emperor. He was here, in the system, watching. "My lord," the communications officer reported. "The Emperor's shuttle is requesting docking clearance. He's here." Vader's blood ran cold. Palpatine, here, now. Why? In the Emperor's shuttle, Palpatine smiled a rictus grin of malicious glee. He'd felt Luke reaching out to Vader, felt the conflict. Perfect. He would use this, turn it, destroy them both if necessary, and start again with new apprentices. The battle raged on. The Kuat drive yards burned. 3 more Star Destroyers destroyed. 7 defense platforms obliterated. The shipyards themselves over half destroyed. The rest damaged beyond immediate repair. But the cost was heavy. The Odyssey gone. 3 Akira-class destroyers destroyed. Dozens of rebel ships burning. Hundreds of fighters lost. The butcher's bill climbing. "Captain," Data reported, "a small shuttle has launched from the Imperial fleet. It is approaching the planet's surface. I am detecting unusual energy readings, similar to what Commander Skywalker describes as the Force." Picard's eyes widened. "The Emperor. Luke, do you sense him?" In the meditation chamber, Luke's eyes snapped open. "Yes, he's here. On the planet. This was a trap. He wanted us all in one place. For what purpose? To destroy us. All of us. With the dark side." Luke stood, grabbing his lightsaber. "Captain, I need to get to the surface. Now. Out of the question. It's too dangerous. It's the only way." Luke's voice was desperate. "If the Emperor uses his full power, he can affect minds across the entire fleet. Make us turn on each other. I've seen what he can do. Please, Captain. I have to face him." Picard stared at the young Jedi. Saw the determination, the courage. "Worf, you go with him, and take a full security team." "Aye, Captain." They materialized on Kuat's surface, a industrial city adjacent to the shipyards. Luke, Worf, and 20 security officers. The city was mostly evacuated, streets empty, only the distant sounds of the orbital battle audible as rumbles. "This way," Luke said, following the Force. "He's in the Imperial Governor's palace." They moved through empty streets, Worf's tactical instincts screaming, "Too quiet, too easy. I do not like this." "Neither do I," Luke admitted. "But we don't have a choice." The palace loomed before them, black marble and durasteel, built to intimidate. The doors were open, inviting. They entered. The throne room was vast, lit by crimson lighting that cast everything in blood-red shadows. And at the far end, sitting on a throne carved from black stone, Emperor Palpatine waited. "Welcome, young Skywalker," Palpatine rasped, his voice like breaking bones. "And you've brought friends. How considerate." "It's over, Emperor," Luke said, igniting his lightsaber, green blade humming. "Your shipyards are destroyed. Your fleet is losing. Surrender." Palpatine laughed a sound that made Worf's trigger finger itch. "Fool, this was never about the shipyards. This was about you, about breaking your father, about showing the galaxy what happens when they resist." Lightning erupted from Palpatine's fingers. Blue-white energy that screamed across the throne room. It hit Worf first. The Klingon screamed, his entire body seizing, and collapsed. The security team opened fire. Phaser beams lanced toward the Emperor. Palpatine gestured casually. The beams bent, redirected, struck the walls. He gestured again. 10 security officers lifted into the air, held by invisible hands, then slammed into walls with bone-breaking force. Luke charged, lightsaber raised. Palpatine met him with force lightning. The green blade intercepted the lightning, absorbing it, redirecting it. Luke gritted his teeth, pushing forward step by step. "Impressive," Palpatine hissed. "Yoda trained you well. But you cannot defeat me, boy." I am the dark side incarnate. You're just an old man afraid of losing power, Luke shot back. More lightning. Luke's blade work faltered. The lightning got through, hit his shoulder. He screamed, dropped to one knee. In orbit, aboard the Executor, Vader felt his son's pain. Luke, suffering. Because of Palpatine. Just as Vader had suffered. Just as Padme had suffered. The conflict inside him reached a breaking point. Anakin Skywalker remembered. His wife, his children, his dreams of justice and peace. Everything Palpatine had corrupted. Everything the dark side had taken. Turn the ship around, Vader ordered suddenly. My lord? The captain asked. I said, turn the ship around. We're going to the surface. Now. The Executor broke off from the battle, its sudden departure confusing both Imperial and Federation forces. It descended toward Kuat's surface, shields straining under atmospheric entry. In the throne room, Palpatine had Luke pinned. The young Jedi couldn't stand, couldn't move, the Force holding him down like an invisible weight. You will watch, Palpatine said, as I turn your friends into my slaves, as I reach up into that fleet and twist their minds until they tear each other apart. And then, when you've lost everything, I will make you my new apprentice. Your father is weak, conflicted, but I will break you completely. The throne room doors exploded inward. Darth Vader strode through, lightsaber ignited, red blade casting scarlet shadows. Ah, Lord Vader, Palpatine said, come to watch your son die. No. Vader's voice was different, softer. I've come to save him. Palpatine's expression twisted with rage. What? You took everything from me. My wife, my life, my soul. But you will not take my son. Vader turned to Luke. Forgive me. Then Vader attacked the Emperor. Red blade met Force lightning. Vader pushed forward, his strength in the dark side matched by something else. A father's love. Anakin's love. Breaking through decades of hate. Palpatine screamed, pouring more power into the lightning. Vader's systems started failing. His respirator sparked. His prosthetic limbs seized, but he kept moving forward. Luke, Vader gasped. Strike, now. Luke pulled himself up, grabbed his lightsaber, and charged. His green blade struck from the side. Palpatine turned, tried to defend against both attackers. Failed. Vader's blade cut through Palpatine's side. Luke's blade pierced his chest. The Emperor screamed a sound of pure hatred and disbelief. Then Force lightning exploded outward in all directions, uncontrolled, wild. The throne room walls cracked, the ceiling collapsed. Vader threw himself over Luke, shielding his son with his own body as debris rained down. When the dust settled, Palpatine was dead, his body burned, his essence scattered. Vader lay atop Luke, his systems failing, sparks flying from damaged cybernetics. Luke pushed himself up, cradled his father's head. You did it. You killed him. The prophecy was true, you brought balance to the Force. Vader's mask cracked. Behind it, Luke saw his father's face, scarred, pale, but human. Anakin Skywalker smiled. Luke, tell your sister. I'm sorry. Tell her. I loved her mother. Tell her. I will, Father. I promise. Anakin Skywalker died in his son's arms, redeemed, at peace. Worf pulled himself up, bleeding but alive. He tapped his comm badge. Enterprise. Mission accomplished. The Emperor is dead. Request immediate beam out. In orbit, the Imperial fleet faltered. With Palpatine's death, the Force connection that had unified the Empire's leadership snapped. Moffs and admirals suddenly realized they were losing, that their Emperor was gone, that the Empire's invincibility was a lie. Ships began to retreat, jump to hyperspace, abandon the battle. They're running, Riker reported. Captain, they're retreating across the board. Picard stood, hardly daring to believe it. All ships, cease fire. Let them go. Repeat, let them go. It's over. The Federation rebel fleet held position, weapons powered down, watching the Imperial fleet scatter. The Executor, damaged but functional, jumped to hyperspace, its crew likely unaware their Emperor was dead. In the throne room ruins, Luke knelt beside his father's body. Tears streamed down his face. Worf stood nearby, respectfully silent. "He was a good man once," Luke said quietly. "He died a good man, that's what matters." "He died with honor," Worf agreed. "That is all any warrior can ask." 2 weeks later, Coruscant's imperial palace flew a different flag. The Rebel Alliance, now the New Republic, had taken the capital. Imperial remnants still controlled parts of the galaxy. But without the Emperor, without the Death Star, without the shipyards at Kuat, the Empire was finished. It would take years to mop up the warlords, but the war was effectively over. On the palace steps, a ceremony was held. Thousands attended rebels, Federation officers, freed slaves, liberated populations. Mon Mothma stood at a podium, addressing the crowd. "Today, we establish the New Republic, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. The Empire is ended. Tyranny is ended. We are free." The crowd roared. Cheers echoed across the city. Picard stood with his senior staff, watching. Data had been rebuilt by Geordi and Rebel technicians better than before, his positronic brain enhanced with knowledge from both galaxies. Worf wore a Rebel Medal of Valor on his Starfleet uniform. Riker grinned like a man who'd just won the greatest battle of his life. "We did it," Riker said. "We actually did it." "We did," Picard agreed. "But now comes the hard part, helping them rebuild, ensuring the New Republic doesn't repeat the Old Republic's mistakes." "The Federation will help," Admiral Nechayev said, approaching. "Starfleet Command has authorized a permanent liaison mission. We'll station ships here, help with reconstruction, share technology. The anomaly is stable. It's a permanent connection between our galaxies now. A bridge between two civilizations," Data observed. "Unprecedented in Federation history." Luke approached, dressed in new Jedi robes, black, but with light gray accents. "Captain Picard, I wanted to thank you. Without the Federation, we would have lost. Without you, Commander Skywalker, we would have faced the Emperor's wrath. It was a team effort." Picard extended his hand. "What will you do now?" "Rebuild the Jedi Order, train new students, make sure the mistakes of the past aren't repeated." Luke smiled. "And maybe visit your galaxy sometime. I'd like to see this Federation of yours." "You'd be welcome. Always." The Enterprise E hung in orbit above Coruscant, preparing to return through the anomaly. They'd leave behind a support squadron, but most of the fleet was going home. Home to the Federation, home to their families. On the bridge, Picard sat in his command chair, looking at the planet below. A galaxy freed, a tyranny ended, but at what cost? The Odyssey. 3 Akira-class destroyers. Thousands of crew members. Tens of thousands of Rebel casualties. "Was it worth it, Number 1? Picard asked quietly. Riker considered the question. 2 billion people on Alderaan never got to ask that question. Every slave we freed, every world we liberated, they'll say yes. It was worth it. I hope you're right. Course laid in for the anomaly, Captain, the helm officer reported. Engage. Take us home." The Enterprise E turned, her nacelles glowing, and jumped to warp. Behind her, a galaxy began to heal. 2 civilizations, Federation and New Republic, bound together by shared sacrifice and shared hope. In his ready room, Picard recorded a log entry. Captain's log, supplemental. "We have completed our mission in what the locals call a galaxy far, far away. The Empire has fallen. The New Republic rises. Our casualties were significant, but the cause was just. The Federation has proven that our principles, freedom, justice, the protection of sentient life, transcend galactic boundaries. We return home changed, wiser, having learned that sometimes exploration means fighting for what's right." Picard out. He closed the log, sipped his Earl Grey, and allowed himself a small smile. They'd gone to another galaxy, fought an empire, and won. Not bad for a ship of explorers.